Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today it's gonna get very spiritually charged in our ideas that we'll be sharing, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be very beneficial to anyone who's willing to have an open mind and ready to listen to what we're about to share. Now first I wanted to go over a paragraph shared to us by Emmet Fox called The Key of Destiny. In it he said the following: "There are a few great laws that govern all thinking, just as there are a few fundamental laws in chemistry, in physics, and in mechanics, for example. We know that thought control is the key of destiny, and in order to learn thought control we have to know and understand these laws, just as the chemist has to understand the laws of chemistry and the electrician has to know the laws of electricity. One of the great mental laws is the law of substitution. This means that the only way to get rid of a certain thought is to substitute it for another one. You can dismiss a thought directly. You can do so only by substituting another one for it. On the physical plane this is not the case. You can drop a book or a stone by simply opening your hand and letting it go. But with thought this will not work. If you want to dismiss a negative thought, the only way to do so is to think of something positive and constructive. It is as though in order, let us say, to drop a pencil, it were necessary to put a pen or a book or a stone into your hand, when the pencil would fall away. If I say to you, do not think of the Statue of Liberty, of course you immediately think of it. If you say, I'm not going to think of the Statue of Liberty, that is thinking of it. But now having thought of it, if you become interested in something else, say by turning on the radio, you forget all about the Statue of Liberty, and this is a case of substitution. It sometimes happens that negative thoughts seem to besiege you in such force that you cannot overcome them. That is what is called a fit of depression, or a fit of worry, or perhaps even a fit of anger. In such a case, the best thing is to go and find someone to talk to on any subject, or to go to a good movie or play, or read an interesting book, say a good novel or biography or travel book, or something of the kind. If you sit down to fight the negative tide, you will probably succeed only in amplifying it. Turn your attention to something quite different, refusing to steadfastly to think of or even rehearse the difficulty, and later on, after you have completely gotten away from it, you can come back with confidence and handle it by spiritual treatment. I say unto you that you resist not evil. Matthew 5:39. You see, what we're dealing with here is the ability and gaining the awareness that we can control our minds at will. So many people just accept negative thoughts and just go along with them, but we should become aware that we can actually say, wait a minute, I am aware of this negative thought, but I don't actually want to go along with it. This takes self-control, that's pretty obvious. So it shows that many people seem to lack this form of control and discipline to use their own minds. But yet if we learn to do this, we are in a position to create an absolutely wonderful life, because our minds will become more and more under our total control, and we can easily see that if we then aim it at all the positives for the most part, we will live a much better life. And that's what we're called upon to do and to learn if we really want to discover the true power of consciousness that exists within us. Now I said that this lecture was going to be fairly spiritually charged, and I have a bunch of notes here that I wanted to share to build on top of this whole concept of the key of destiny. First of all, I wanted to tell that I could sense spiritually that what Emmet said is true, but in general, I now realize even more from experience where people go completely wrong in life. It is their tendency to look at the physical world and still let it influence them. Or even worse, they might be afraid if they start doing what I'm doing, that it means they are being crazy or unrealistic about their lives. But this is the law, and since it makes you feel absolutely powerful, determined and great, then it must not be a bad thing to do this. Even if society or perhaps psychologists might say you are being delusional, but I know I'm not, since it is compelling me to do things physically that would make it so in the long run. What we're talking about here, of course, is changing our thoughts, changing our focus within consciousness. That at first might make you feel like you're being delusional. What if there's something negative going on in your physical life and you ignore it? Well, it seems like you're being irresponsible, but yet, if you want to outgrow and overcome all the negativity, you're going to have to redirect your mind. This not just happens on the physical side, but also on the mental and emotional planes. Therefore, we want to redirect our thoughts and emotions also into a better direction, even though the physical world temporarily might seem in conflict with our own state of mind. But you see, the way to overcome that is to outgrow that tendency, as I said, to look at the physical world and let it influence us. This at first might seem overwhelming, but that is again the ultimate power, the ultimate trick to regaining your own consciousness and get it back under your total control. Now, in my past, I've talked to a psychologist in my early days of studying metaphysical teachings, and I would sometimes share with him some of these things and these big dreams I had. And it's true, he would in a way let me talk about it, but also would feel the need to say I should make sure I stay realistic, because according to him, some dreams might not be possible to realize. And I asked him, have you ever had any great dreams? And he said when he was young he had some dreams, but ultimately had to come to the conclusion it was not possible to achieve them, so he let them go. He basically said I should be careful too, not to let my mind run too far away with me. Needless to say, I remember not long after I told him I no longer am interested in speaking to a psychologist. I'm going on with my own goals in life. Emmet Fox, Neville Goddard, actually all these authors from the past, is facing similar situations as me, or I am actually facing similar situations as them. They would openly talk about knowing some people out there that were alive during their times who had a great audience, but they knew they are not sharing with those people the complete picture. In a way it might be misleading their followers still. So I will have to do this with my own work like them. If any work does not turn people back to their own minds, then it's all false teachings. Now, what is a false teaching? I think a false teaching is one where the follower of it still doesn't discover the true power of their own mind and connection they have with God. If they get trained to follow rituals and ceremonies physically just because that is considered normal, like most religious people, they might miss the real power. They might sense it in a way but still not work with it entirely in the right way. It is a step in the right direction if a person says, I believe in God, like most religious people. But the ultimate test is to embrace that God in such a way that it can give you the power to overcome all your own obstacles and show you anything is possible. As the people would write in scripture, all things are possible to God, and also all things are possible to him who believes. And another time, with God all things are possible. So in different ways, even they were trying to hint at the ultimate destiny, that we would work together with the power of God instead of just asking God for favors. With God all things are possible might be considered to most that with someone like God all things are possible, so not with us. We have to pray to him, but it obviously meant when we work together with God all things are possible. Can we really do this? Yes, we can. Now, where do you start? Well, by grasping and contemplating deeply that imagination, thought and feelings are the three divine creative powers in the universe that take on physical form as we keep ourselves focused on them. That is the individual Holy Trinity inside of you. God calls things that be not as though they were, and the unseen become seen. Imitate God like dear children. How do we do it? What power in us gives us this ability? The powers of imagination, thoughts and feelings. They give us this power and ability if applied in the right way. Imagination, for example, could be considered the Father, feeling the Holy Ghost, and body the Son. Now, it doesn't really matter if you believe me on these points, it is just to make it easier to grasp these metaphysical teachings, as long as you can reflect them back on your own mind and existence. A trinity like that was shown to me in a vision. I was standing in an open area, and up in the sky I saw a trinity floating. I saw the earth inside of this trinity. It must have meant something, that the way to control that realm, this physical world, is by understanding the trinity itself. It was one wild vision, I tell you that much. I can sense this gives us ultimate power if we dare to take it. We have to step out and dare to imagine and think about what we want, even if our senses deny that we have it, or other people would deny we have it or disagree we can ever obtain it. If we still dare to obey these visions and thoughts, if we let ourselves become possessed by these dreams, we will ultimately discover that they will move into physical form, and we hold the power to mold our own destinies. Most people are afraid to use this power. It goes so much against what we have been taught as we were growing up. It goes so radically against society as a whole that we fear it might be a bad idea to live like this. But it won't be a bad idea. It will show you more about the real spiritual forces that operate throughout this universe. Forces that you were given dominion over, as it was written. You were given dominion over the earth and everything that lives on it. They talk in symbolism. They don't mean we should have dominion over people and animals like a dictator. They mean we will have dominion over our minds and manifest from the inside out what we desire to experience physically for ourselves. The earth is what we would describe our circumstances physically speaking. So if you have dominion over the earth, it means you'll have it over your own circumstances. And you can only do that by understanding how your mind works and then to apply this power that you're being made aware of. Now, as I told you, this is a highly charged spiritual video. At first you might not understand the connection with what Emmet Fox shared at the beginning concerning the key of thought, but this is where it ultimately leads to. By having more and more awareness on what the power of thought is all about, how creative it actually is, and how it is one with the Spirit of God, it becomes more and more joyous and exciting and more meaningful to actually put in the work to control your own mind, because you start to sense that you can do absolutely wonderful things if you're willing to pay this price. Many people aren't willing, they let their thoughts go all over the place. But the key of destiny is to control their own mind. And then through mind control of ourselves, we can control the way we think and imagine and feel, and therefore we control our whole destinies. That is the divine destiny for each and every individual on this planet. To realize this for themselves, to discover it, and then to make use of it. Absolutely wonderful things can happen if we start doing this. Again, you can't even imagine all the beauty that would be in store for you. But I hope you will give it a chance, because at the end of the day, we're all in this journey together, trying to figure out the mysteries of consciousness and how to make the best use of it. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.